My guest, Chef Ken Fornataro from Cultures Group, has been with us all season long for this Asian fermentation series, and it's been incredible. We've learned so much about how to make koji, how to cook amazing recipes with koji. But the one thing that I think is still a secret is that Ken has been making miso for years and years, and he started several batches here, some of them many years ago. They've been in our root cellar fermenting and changing their taste, and the umami flavors have been developing over all that time. Some of them are more short term. And it's a real treat that today he's going to explain a little bit about the different misos, their flavors, their colors, and what you would use each of them for.
Yeah, it's really important if you're making miso, but also if you're not interested in making miso when you're buying miso, that you know what you would like to use it for. A miso that was aged for like 2 or 3 years, which would invariably be more expensive than a very short aged miso. That's because, location and timing and space costs money over time.
It's taking up a lot of real estate,
Yeah.
even in our root cellar, right?
That's right. Yeah, there are lots of these down in your root cellar. Basically, there's a standard or traditional theory that during colder or winter season, you would use a darker, more aged miso because that's more adaptable to your body needs. You need something that has a lot of strength that's been developed in that miso.
Right.
Whereas in the summer, you would almost invariably be using a very young, sweet miso, actually. And that's one of the things that happens when you first make miso. Even if you plan to age it out over years and years and years, which nowadays people are less inclined to do.
Right, this is special that we've got all these really, really aged misos here. It's like a fine wine. I mean, how many people
That's
get
true.
to drink a wine that's been aging for a decade or longer?
Yeah, right. And so for most people, for their everyday use, particularly if you're not in the dead of winter or you're not doing something that really requires a deep, savory taste, you can use a lighter taste by using a lighter miso. Are you into something that looks good, or are you into something that looks like the internal workings of the whole miso process?
Well, why would that look bad? Would it be scary?
I think this is going to be a little scary to most people,
Okay.
People say, most people who don't know how cheeses are made, for example, or how miso or even natto, like really strong smelling stuff that doesn't necessarily look good, they might say, "Oh, this is a bad thing.
Right,
throw it
it away."
Right?
Okay, so are we talking mold here?
Well,
What's
this has
going
not
on?
been opened since 2019.
Well, it looks just like kind of yeast on top of it.
And it is.
Okay.
And smell that, it almost smells like cheese.
It does have a
very
little
similar.
cheese. It doesn't smell rotten, like it's not
No,
terrifying.
but if you saw that, in most cases, I think most people would say,
"Oh, this is
what
bad,"
that?
right? What
And
that
so
shouldn't
then
have
you peel
happened.
back even more.
Oh, now that looks a little scary.
Right? It's gonna get
I
really.
see what you're saying. All
Now,
right,
remember
look
I
at
said
that.
this is a mild case?
Here, move that
It's a
paper.
mild case.
This is a mild case of what do you call this?
That's just a natural progression of yeasts and bacteria and fungus that's growing on top of your miso. Yeah, we're gonna get a big spoon, right? Because this is not a serious case, you really can just scrape the
Yeah,
top
you
like
kind
this.
of can clean it up, it
And
looks like.
in this case, now what I'm gonna do, because I don't want to take stuff and push it into there, I'm gonna get a clean spoon.
Okay.
Right?
Oh.
Fun stuff.
He's digging in.
Right? Look at that.
Wow.
Texture, right?
That's a dark miso. You weren't kidding when you talked about light and dark.
Right?
This is koji rice, corn, and barley, and sourdough as well. Split pea sourdough. So you've got all kinds of things going on.
Yeah. that's also an opportunity to taste your miso as it goes along.
So this isn't going to be lethal even if it had that mold in it?
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
This one is zingy.
Oh, it tastes like really excellent olives.
It does. Olives. Yes. Really beautifully cured olives. Wow.
Yeah. These are like Niçoise olives times 10.
Amazing.
Right.
That's incredible.
So now you can see,
olive
right?
miso paste. Who would think that those particular ingredients would make such a zingy, olivey miso? It's incredible.
Let's say we're going to make a 6-month miso. All-purpose, standard, koji and soybean miso.
Okay.
And that would be almost inevitably always 50% koji, rice koji, and 50% beans. This is a really special miso. This is a month old.
Only? Oh
Yeah.
my.
This has a very large amount of koji in it.
Can I taste it?
Yeah. For this particular one, as opposed to as opposed to adding
My head's exploding. Hold on, keep talking.
as opposed to adding soybeans, okay, I took fermented soybean powder.
Fermented soybean powder.
Which
is that something you can buy, or you have to make that
Yeah,
yourself?
no, you can actually buy that now.
Okay.
It's a very special thing that the soybeans have already been fermented.
Fermented.
So everything's been broken
powdered.
down, etc. So when you actually add that to the koji, all right, the koji has less work to do on that part.
It doesn't have to
And so-
penetrate like it does into a grain of rice.
Or soybeans. It doesn't have to break the pectin or the cellulases or pieces of soybean down. So what it will do is it'll start to work way more on the actual protein component of it and create these protein-associated flavors that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a flavor I don't think I've ever tasted. If you were going to make a meal to impress somebody with, well, how would you use this?
Well, I wouldn't give it to anyone. I'd eat it myself, first of all.
If you wanted to entertain somebody,
you could use it.
seduce somebody.
I think actually the thing that I would use this for, I would take a chicken breast or a piece of roast chicken, and then right before it was done, I might mix this very smooth and brush the chicken with it, or if I were sauteing it, I would throw a tiny little piece of this, bit of this in the saute pan when I was adding a butter, for example, and it would just
yeah, because it is almost buttery already, so the butter would just
really
open it up. Yeah.
give it a depth of umami flavor that you just really marvel over.
Green, lacto, coffee, koji, soy, miso. What is this one all about?
What I did with this one, I managed to get my hands on some green coffee beans that were unfermented.
So unfermented green coffee beans.
I lacto fermented them, which means that I put about 4% salt on them after about, I would say, 3 months. They were lacto fermented. They took on a little bit of sourness, etc. And that actually also released all these flavor components in this. Then I started the miso. I mixed it with the koji as well as soy. And this has been already aged for a year. Okay? And so a couple weeks ago I took it, I opened it up and looked at it and said, let's see. And as you can see this by the smell, right?
It smells like coffee.
So what I did after the year-long period was to add some leftover espresso coffee grinds in order to not only just give it flavor, but also to see if I could use something that was typically thrown away.
Right. So would that be sort of feeding this miso?
It is.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I can save coffee grinds for you. Alex drinks a couple cups of espresso a day, so if you
There
want
you go.
more.
When you do that, you add a whole range of new type of flavor possibilities to this.
So it's already started a process, then you're adding something new to
That's
it,
right.
and it's already changed its enzymes when it gets the new food.
Yeah. And so now, as you would any regular miso, mix it up really well, pack it in after covering it, salting the top, etc. And we're not even going to open this for a year now.
Okay, so back in the cellar
Right?
with this guy.
Another year.
Okay.
See you later.
All right.
I think you're going to be really surprised next year when you look at it that I think there's some pooling that's going to start to go on.
Okay,
Tamari.
so we're going to get some coffee tamari. That's definitely going to be a new trend.
Right.
All right, what else do we have here? Soy, brown rice.
This. You see that what that label is? That's from 2017.
Okay, so that's
We're going to
getting
year
a little old.
4 now on that one, or
okay,
5.
Yeah.
And as that was checked over the years, as you can see, it's like layers and layers
Right,
of
even
labels.
even the label's getting a little brown and
Right, you don't want to throw those away.
Right,
Those are kind of like cool thing to have. As you open it up, you always would re-cover it and re-salt it. And
okay.
this was last checked as well, about probably a year and a half ago.
All right, so it's got a little of that
And
cheesy,
yeah,
yeasty
right,
stuff
and
on
it
top.
also has this too.
Ooh.
And in some misos, not all, but some, they will actually begin to create almost pockets of tamari, right?
Yes.
Get
look at
really
that.
juicy, etc.
Kind of looks like you struck oil here.
Right? Excellent.
That's amazing.
So after a while, you get to know like which like slimy looking things are better than others, right? I wouldn't want to necessarily use that part, but this one
This is good
is
slime.
really kind of good slime.
Did you
right?
taste that? Should I taste that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's not. You would think that'd be like tea, right?
It tastes like tamari.
Basically, what I would do in this case, see this, how easily this one comes
Yeah,
off?
it's just sliding right off. It's almost oily.
Yeah. That's a completely different thing than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I'm going to do with this is save it. I just so happen to have a pot of squash on. I'm going to take this.
Mhm.
I'm going to put this directly in with that squash.
Oh.
Or I could use potatoes, whatever was in there.
Mhm.
Burdock root would be amazing with this. Take on top. And look at that.
This is actually milder than the others and saltier. This
yeah.
is olive. This is very olivey too. It's delicious.
Yeah,
it
it
also
really is.
it really does kind of. If you told me this was some kind of tapenade,
Yes,
I would believe that. So is this ready now? You think?
it is. I
Okay,
think it is.
it's great.
Definitely. But that's still, now is the time. If you wanted to use a miso like this, you could actually take this squash, completely uncooked, right, and
Right.
just bury it in there.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine?
And
then
in like a year, possibly 2 years. People like to do 2 years when they're doing.
so you could
whole
bury
squash.
whole vegetables in the miso.
That's right. Come back 2 years later. That will be the most amazing misozuke, it's called, or pickled
Squash.
miso pickled thing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. So there you go.
Wow. All right. Well, I can't wait to learn more recipes, more things that we can do with it. But I think the most fun is to just try this, get some miso, and then experiment with it at home. Use some of Ken's recipes, try your own things. There's a million things that I can think of doing with it right now. So let's get cooking.
All right.
Move it out. All right, so that looks good. Put the lid back on. And here is our label with today's date on it. We're gonna put this back in the cellar